man stepped into the heart of the empire he had built, disguised as just another ordinary visitor. But this seemingly simple visit would be transformed by a few words he was about to hear. When your business, your reputation, and your very humanity are put to the test, which path will you choose? Lucas Carter, despite being the owner of one of the world's most renowned motorcycle brands, had a secret that very few people knew. No one recognized his true identity. Neither store employees nor customers ever noticed when he casually walked past them. This was part of Lucas's unconventional strategy in the business world. For him, the key to success wasn't just superior technology or design. It lay in the genuine feedback of his employees and customers. Lucas took great care to maintain his anonymity because he didn't want people to treat him differently. He had no interest in flaunting his wealth and fame. Instead, he preferred to observe and experience everything firsthand. Today was one of those special days for Lucas. Early in the morning, he decided to visit one of his stores located in a quiet neighborhood. He threw on a simple leather jacket, slung an old helmet over his arm, and rode toward the city center. The streets were shrouded in a light mist, and the chilly air nipped at his face. The roar of his motorcycle engine shattered the morning silence as Lucas kept his eyes on the road, mentally speculating about customers' opinions of the store. When Lucas reached the store, he gently parked his motorcycle and paused to take in the view of the showroom. The bikes displayed in the window caught his attention. Each one held a special place in his heart. He thought of the long nights spent designing, the failures that preceded success, and the ultimate perfection they had achieved. But this wasn't a time for nostalgia. Taking a deep breath, he pushed the door open and stepped inside. The atmosphere of the store had the same magnetic effect on him as always. Pictures of motorcycle collections adorned the walls, and a young employee was busy assisting a customer at the counter. Lucas quietly observed his surroundings. The employees saw him as just another customer, and that was exactly how he wanted it. After wandering through the store for a while, Lucas stopped beside a particular motorcycle. The sleek model had caught his eye. A young employee noticed him and approached with a friendly smile. "Good morning. How can I help you today?" Lucas returned the smile and nodded politely. "Just browsing. Can you tell me more about this model?" The young man's eyes lit up with enthusiasm as he began describing the motorcycle. Lucas listened intently, absorbing every word. Were the employees passionate about their work? What kind of experience were the customers having here? This was how Lucas gauged the quality of his business. He noted the employees' warm and helpful attitude, which pleased him. But Lucas wasn't done observing just yet. Other customers were browsing the store as well. In one corner, a couple was intently discussing a different model. Lucas discreetly tuned into their conversation. The man complained about the price, while the woman voiced concerns about safety. "For this much money, how will it hold up in an accident?" she asked with a worried expression. The question made Lucas pause. This was precisely the kind of concern he had been working to address for years through his designs. Safety had always been a top priority in his company. If you're enjoying our stories, don't forget to support us by subscribing and liking the videos. Thank you so much. Lucas decided to engage further by asking more questions, subtly extending the conversation. He mentally took notes, storing every observation in his memory. He was certain that by the end of the day, he would walk away with invaluable insights from both customers and employees. Perhaps tomorrow he would bring up these points in a meeting and reassess their sales strategies. But no one would ever know that the man who had quietly browsed the store today was actually Lucas Carter. His secret, along with his recipe for success, remained intact, silently observing and learning. Lucas had arrived at the store early in the morning, blending in like an ordinary customer with a hidden passion for motorcycles. He wore a pair of slightly worn jeans and a simple leather jacket. There were no flashy accessories on him. He looked like someone who could easily disappear into a crowd. Yet, as he stepped inside, a familiar excitement stirred within him. The sight of the motorcycles lined up on the shelves, the warm but powerful lighting illuminating each section of the showroom. Every model represented a chapter of his past struggles and triumphs. His eyes were drawn to a sleek black sports motorcycle. Its aerodynamic curves seemed to embody speed and freedom. Lucas took a few steps closer, leaning down to examine it more closely. When his hand lightly touched the cold, solid frame, the sensation was both familiar and reassuring. Memories of long nights spent perfecting the design, of endless calculations and brainstorming sessions with his creative team, surfaced in his mind. He took a deep breath, pulling himself out of those thoughts, and called out to a sales representative. "Could I take a closer look at this motorcycle?" Lucas asked, flashing a polite smile. The sales representative, a young man who seemed knowledgeable and personable, quickly approached him. Of course, sir. This model is one of our most popular releases from last year. We've received excellent feedback on its speed, balance, and safety features. Lucas nodded slightly, listening attentively as the young man spoke. The representative's professionalism and enthusiasm impressed him. Everything seemed to be going smoothly. Until Lucas overheard a tense conversation at the back of the store. "I don't want to buy a motorcycle from this place," one of the customers said, his voice laced with frustration and anger. Lucas instinctively turned his head toward the sound. The tone of the young man's voice caught his attention. There was both disappointment and resentment in it. "Why not? The prices seem pretty reasonable," the other customer responded, sounding both confused and curious. Lucas discreetly continued listening. Although the sales representative was still talking, Lucas's mind was now focused on the conversation unfolding nearby. The tension between the two customers had piqued his curiosity. He knew that moments like these were critical. Problems often surfaced when customers were at their most honest. "It's not about the prices," the frustrated customer continued. "Last month, a friend of mine bought a bike here and had a major issue with it. The engine broke down and the service department was completely unhelpful. He had to wait for a part and he still doesn't have a solution." Lucas's expression darkened slightly as he absorbed this information. This was a serious concern. Customer satisfaction had always been his top priority, and hearing about such an issue unsettled him. However, he knew he needed more details before taking action. "Are you serious?" the other customer asked, sounding increasingly worried. "Is the service really that bad?" "Yeah," the first customer replied bitterly. "My friend still can't use his bike. He says the service department keeps giving him excuses. I didn't expect this from a brand like this." Lucas took a deep breath, resisting the urge to intervene immediately. He didn't want to reveal his identity just yet. Instead, he focused on gathering more information and understanding the situation from the customer's perspective. Glancing around, he noticed that none of the employees were aware of the conversation. Yet, this was the kind of issue that could easily tarnish the store's reputation if left unaddressed. The young sales representative was still explaining the features of the bike, oblivious to Lucas's divided attention. Lucas smiled at him and said, "I'd like to explore the store a bit more. We'll talk again later." The representative nodded politely and stepped back, allowing Lucas to roam freely. Quietly, Lucas made his way toward the back of the store. He knew he had to decide how to handle this situation. As a CEO, he understood that sometimes the best approach was to remain a silent observer and let things unfold naturally. It was often in these unfiltered moments that the root causes of problems revealed themselves. However, Lucas had already made up his mind. Today he would do more than just observe. Disguised as an ordinary customer, he was here to protect the very foundation of his brand, trust and loyalty. What he learned from this experience would guide him in improving both his company's service and its reputation. This was more than just another visit to a store, it was a mission to ensure that his business continued to thrive on genuine connections and unshakable integrity. "The prices may be good, but I heard the owner here doesn't treat his employees fairly," the young man continued, his voice filled with both anger and disappointment. "Apparently they make people work overtime without paying them properly. I can't support that." For a moment, Lucas felt as though his entire body had frozen. His breath caught and his heart began to race. The words echoed in his mind. Not paying employees fairly? Forcing unpaid overtime? The mere suggestion that this could be happening in one of his stores was deeply unsettling. Lucas had always prided himself on valuing the hard work of his employees. He knew his success was built on their efforts, and ensuring their rights and well-being had always been a core principle for him. But hearing such a serious accusation made him question if things had somehow slipped out of his control. His thoughts raced. Where did these rumors come from? Is the store manager neglecting his duties? Or is there a serious breakdown in communication? He knew he couldn't jump to conclusions. He needed to understand the full scope of the situation before taking action. The conversation at the back of the store continued. The young man's friend spoke in a calmer, more reassuring tone. "Maybe you've got the wrong information. I would think a big brand like this would be careful about things like that." But the angry customer remained adamant. "No, I'm sure. I heard it from someone who works here. What he told me was pretty bad. A few employees even quit because of it. They were forced to stay for overtime but didn't get paid for it." Lucas's ears seemed to ring as he absorbed the young man's words. How could I have missed something like this? How could I not know if my employees were facing these issues? It was unthinkable for such practices to be tolerated under his leadership. However, the fact that these rumors were circulating posed a serious threat to the store's reputation. He knew he needed to act, but in a way that wouldn't create chaos. Revealing his identity and intervening publicly could escalate the situation. Instead, he decided to remain a silent observer for now, gathering as much information as possible. Only by fully understanding the problem could he find a solution. Lucas took a deep breath, forcing himself to stay composed. Part of him considered walking straight up to one of the employees to address the issue, but he quickly dismissed the idea. It was better to listen and observe how customers truly perceived the brand. People only shared their honest thoughts when they believed no one important was watching. That was exactly why Lucas's strategy of anonymity was so effective. The other customer tried to lighten the mood with a small smile. This is a big company. Maybe stuff like that happens in some branches, but I doubt it's a problem everywhere. It might just be a misunderstanding. I hope so, the frustrated customer replied, though doubt lingered in his eyes. But I can't just ignore it. If a business doesn't treat its workers fairly, I won't spend my money there. Lucas felt a deep sense of urgency. He knew how quickly such perceptions could spread and damage a brand's image. If customers started to believe these stories, trust in his stores could erode overnight. He had to address the problem before it grew any further. As he quietly reflected, Lucas began forming a plan. His first step would be a private conversation with the store manager to get a full picture of the situation. He would also conduct a detailed review of employee conditions. Most importantly, he needed to ensure that what he heard today would not be ignored. Customer satisfaction was critical, but so was the well-being and fair treatment of his employees. Lucas found himself at a crossroads. He could either continue playing the role of an anonymous customer and gather more information or reveal his identity and confront the issue head-on. Yet something deep inside urged him to keep observing. There's more to learn, a voice in his mind whispered. Lucas had made his decision. Today no one would know who he really was. But what he witnessed here would be pivotal in reshaping his priorities as a business leader. For Lucas, this moment was more than just another day at the store. It was a crucial reminder of the responsibilities that came with success and the power of listening to those who trusted him most. Lucas took a few steps inside the store, slowly approaching the two young men who were still deep in conversation. He wanted to subtly draw their attention without arousing suspicion. He maintained a confident but casual demeanor, aiming to blend in as just another curious customer. In situations like this, asking the right questions was often the most effective way to gather information. "Hey," he greeted them with a friendly smile, "did I hear you right just now? Are there some issues here?" His voice was calm and approachable, laced with curiosity. He made eye contact to appear genuinely interested without coming across as intrusive. One of the young men gave Lucas a cautious look. There was hesitation in his eyes, but after a brief silence, he decided to speak. "I'm not sure," he said slowly, "but that's what people around town have been saying. Apparently the workers here aren't happy with their wages. They're made to work overtime but don't get paid fairly. A few of them even quit because of it." The other young man nodded and added, "Yeah, I've heard similar things. I used to really like this brand, but when I heard how they treat their workers, I hesitated. I don't want to support a business that's unfair to its employees." The tension within Lucas intensified. Overtime without pay, unhappy workers, people quitting. These accusations clashed completely with the values he had built his brand on. The mere thought that such practices might exist under his leadership was deeply troubling. However, jumping to conclusions wouldn't help. He needed to trace the source of these rumors before taking any action. "I see," Lucas replied, keeping his tone composed. "That's a serious matter. But are you sure about it? Maybe it's just a few isolated incidents being blown out of proportion. Every large company faces challenges at times, right?" The young man shrugged thoughtfully. "Maybe," he admitted. "But stuff like this spreads quickly. If people lose trust in how the store is managed, they won't come back. For me, trust is more important than prices." Lucas nodded in agreement. The young man had a point. Trust was fragile. Once lost, it was incredibly difficult to rebuild. It had taken years for his brand to establish a reputation based on trust with both customers and employees. Yet, a single misstep could bring it all crashing down. He decided to probe further. "I understand," he said, his tone softening a bit. "Where did you hear all this? Is it first-hand information or just rumors?" The young man paused for a moment. "A friend of mine used to work here. Last year he had trouble with unpaid overtime. Eventually he found another job and left. He told me about it. I don't know how much of it is true, but word gets around. When people hear that workers are being mistreated, they stop shopping here. A wave of guilt washed over Lucas like a cold breeze. If there was truth to these claims, then he had failed to catch it. On the other hand, if misinformation was spreading, he needed to address it quickly. For now, he resolved to keep up his role as a customer to gather more clues. I suppose every workplace can have issues now and then, Lucas said thoughtfully. But when customers hear these kinds of things, it's definitely bad for the brand's image. Have you heard of others who stopped coming here because of this? The young man nodded. Of course. Lots of people in town care about how workers are treated. When rumors like this start, people react fast. Justice is a big deal here. Lucas's mind began forming a plan. He needed to have a direct conversation with the store manager and also meet with employees to get a clearer picture of what was going on. The information he was quietly collecting today would be crucial for determining the right strategy. For now, though, he decided not to reveal his identity or push the conversation further. Instead, he aimed to end the discussion on friendly terms. I see, he said one last time. It's unfortunate when things like this come to light. I hope any issues get resolved soon so everyone can have a better experience. Thanks for sharing this with me. The young men nodded politely, signaling the end of the conversation, and continued browsing the store. Lucas took a deep breath, his eyes scanning the room. The time to take action was approaching. He planned to quietly head to the back office and speak with the store manager in person. However, he wanted to observe a little more first. Everything he had heard today contained vital insights that could shape the future of his brand. Lucas was no longer just a CEO. He was now a leader fighting to protect the trust and integrity of his business. Before leaving the store, Lucas discreetly called the store manager and a few employees for a private meeting in the office. Without revealing his identity, he got straight to the point, asking sharp, purposeful questions about overtime, payment issues, and employee satisfaction. The staff appeared a little puzzled but answered him honestly. As they spoke, Lucas began piecing together the situation in his mind. The source of the rumors was a former employee who had left the job the previous year. This individual, feeling unjustly terminated, had spread negative stories about the store. The manager and employees explained that this person had exaggerated the working conditions and influenced the perception of the townspeople. While Lucas now understood the root of the problem, it did not ease his concerns. Perception was often more powerful than reality. Allowing these damaging rumors to persist was entirely unacceptable to Lucas's vision of leadership. This revelation shook Lucas emotionally. His brand, which represented freedom and trust through its motorcycles, was now being tainted by such a negative reputation. He could not afford to leave anything to chance anymore. He realized that he needed to take immediate and effective action to safeguard employee rights and prevent communication breakdowns in his stores. The next morning, Lucas summoned all store managers for an urgent meeting. In the conference room, the managers sat with tense expressions, sensing the gravity of the situation. Lucas took a deep breath and addressed them with determination. There are some troubling rumors circulating about our stores, Lucas began, his voice steady but serious. These rumors suggest that our employees are not being treated fairly, that their rights are being overlooked. Our brand is built on respect for hard work and trust. If there's a misunderstanding or an issue anywhere, we need to fix it immediately. From now on, we will not allow such perceptions to take hold in any of our stores. Lucas then presented a comprehensive plan to improve employee welfare and strengthen internal communication. He ordered the implementation of anonymous feedback systems in all stores, enabling employees to safely voice their concerns or dissatisfaction. He also established stricter oversight of overtime and payroll procedures. By the time Lucas finished speaking, the managers had a renewed sense of responsibility as they left the meeting. A month passed. During this time, Lucas closely monitored the implementation of these changes. Employee feedback indicated that the measures were effective, but Lucas wanted to see the results for himself. Once again, he disguised himself as a regular customer and decided to visit the store where the rumors had originated. When he entered the store, Lucas immediately noticed a difference in the atmosphere. The energy was livelier than before. Employees were cheerful and engaged, focusing on their work with renewed passion. As Lucas wandered through the store, he overheard a lively conversation nearby. Two customers stood around a bright red sports motorcycle, admiring it. "This is such an incredible model," one of the young customers exclaimed, running his hand over the bike in awe. "Yeah," the other responded with a smile. "I bought a motorcycle here last week." The staff was so helpful it totally caught me off guard. They really gave me professional service. Hearing these words brought a wave of relief over Lucas. The tense, negative atmosphere from a month ago had completely vanished. Now both customers and employees exuded trust and positivity. Seeing this transformation filled Lucas with a profound sense of satisfaction. Sometimes, problems could turn into unexpected opportunities. This experience reminded him that his brand's growth wasn't just about the products but also about nurturing strong relationships with people. As Lucas quietly exited the store, a faint smile played on his lips. He now felt reassured that trust had been rebuilt and could turn his focus to new goals. He knew that success was not just driven by innovation but by winning the hearts and trust of those who mattered most. "You can trust this store," said one of the young men as he gazed at the motorcycle with admiration. "I heard the owner always stands by his employees. He really cares about their rights." When Lucas heard these words, the heavy weight on his heart slowly began to lift. The negative remarks that had once echoed through the store were now replaced by sentiments of trust. A gentle smile spread across his face. Hearing that people had regained confidence in his brand and store brought him a deep sense of peace, something he had been longing for. Seeing the transformation with his own eyes felt like one of the greatest rewards he had ever received in his career. As Lucas continued to walk around the store, he observed the interactions between employees and customers. Warm smiles, genuine conversations, and thoughtful responses to questions caught his attention. One employee was patiently explaining the safety features of a motorcycle to a small child, speaking in a kind and reassuring tone. In that moment, Lucas was reminded that his business wasn't just about selling motorcycles, it was about building dreams and trust. As he made his way toward the door, the warm atmosphere of the store lingered behind him. He paused for a moment next to his motorcycle. Only one thought filled his mind. Success was not measured solely by profits or technological achievements. True success was defined by how you treated people, by earning their trust and respect through integrity. Lucas took a deep breath as he mounted his bike. New goals lay ahead of him. He would continue striving to improve both customer satisfaction and employee loyalty. But today he left with the comforting knowledge that he was on the right path. He started the engine and slowly rode off toward the city center. As the store faded into the distance behind him, a single phrase echoed in Lucas's mind: "Trust is built with effort and preserved with honesty." He was no longer just a CEO, he was a leader people could depend on. And that, to him, meant more than anything else.